Welcome to AI in 10. I'm Chuck Goetschel, and every day I break down the biggest AI story in just 10 minutes. What it is, why it matters, and how you can actually use it. I'm going to walk you through something that sounds like science fiction, but it just happened in San Francisco this week. A company called Eon didn't train an AI on data. They literally copied a fruit fly's brain, wire for wire, all 125,000 neurons, and then they let it loose in a virtual world where it immediately started acting like a real fly. So here's what Eon actually did. They took something called the fly-wire connectomy, which is basically a complete map of every neuron in a fruit fly's brain. Think of it like having the blueprint for every wire in your house's electrical system. Scientists finished mapping this in 2024 using electron microscopy, which took years of painstaking work to trace 50 million connections between 125,000 neurons. Now here's where it gets wild. Instead of training an AI model, Eon just plugged this biological wiring diagram into a computer. They used what's called a leaky integrate and fire neuron model, which is a fancy way of saying they made digital neurons that behave like real ones. No machine learning, no training data, just pure biology running on silicon. Then they gave this digital brain a virtual body. They connected it to something called neuromech-fly, which is essentially a physics simulation of a fruit fly body, complete with muscles, joints, and sensors. The brain could see through virtual eyes, feel through virtual legs, and move through virtual muscles. What happened next blew everyone's minds. The fly immediately started behaving like a real fly. It walked around, it avoided obstacles, it searched for food, it groomed itself, all with 91% accuracy compared to real fruit flies, which is basically like photocopying your brain and having the copy remember your coffee order. The team at Eon, led by Philip Hsu, who came from DeepMind, released a video showing their digital fly exploring a virtual world. Think Doom, but for insects. The fly navigates around walls, seeks out food sources, and generally acts exactly like you'd expect a fruit fly to act, except it's all happening inside a computer. Now you might be thinking, okay, Chuck, that's fascinating, but I don't own any fruit flies. How does this actually affect my life? Well, let me connect some dots that might surprise you. First, let's talk about your healthcare costs. Fruit flies are incredible models for human diseases. Their brains work surprisingly similar to ours when it comes to things like addiction, memory loss, and neurodegeneration. Right now, testing new drugs for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's takes years and costs billions. But if you can run thousands of experiments on digital fly brains, you can test treatments in weeks instead of years. That means cheaper drugs, faster breakthroughs, and potentially life-saving treatments reaching your family sooner. Your aging parents might benefit from discoveries that would have taken decades using traditional methods. Second, think about safety in dangerous jobs. This brain emulation technology could power robots that think like insects. Insects are incredibly good at navigating complex environments, avoiding threats, and making split-second decisions. Imagine search and rescue robots with fly-like reflexes searching through earthquake rubble, or inspection drones that can navigate tight spaces in oil rigs or nuclear plants. If someone in your family works in construction, firefighting, or any high-risk job, insect-brained robots could take over the most dangerous tasks, which means they come home safer every night. Third, let's talk about your grocery bill. Modern farming increasingly relies on automation, but current robots are pretty clunky. Insects are nature's ultimate efficiency machines, a fly brain that can navigate complex environments, make quick decisions, and adapt to changing conditions could revolutionize agricultural robotics. Better pest control, more precise crop monitoring, smarter pollination assistance, all of which could drive down food costs, which I know everyone's feeling right now. But here's something that might actually matter more to your daily life. This approach to AI is fundamentally different from what we've seen so far. Current AI systems are data-hungry monsters. They need massive server farms, constant internet connections, and they're basically black boxes that nobody really understands. Brain-emulated AI could run on much less power. Think more like your smartphone, less like a data center. That means AI assistants that work offline, smart home devices that don't need to phone home to Silicon Valley, more privacy, less dependency on big tech companies, which honestly sounds pretty appealing if you're tired of wondering what Amazon's Alexa is doing with your conversations. All right, let's get practical. What can you actually do with this information today? Because I'm not going to tell you to go build your own fruit fly brain, though that would make for an interesting weekend project. First, you can actually watch this happen. Eon released videos of their digital fly in action. Search for Eon fruit fly brain simulation on YouTube. Watching it will give you a much better sense of what we're talking about here. It's genuinely mind-blowing to see a purely digital creature behaving exactly like a living animal. Second, if you're even remotely curious about the technical side, the underlying data is actually open source. The Flywire connectomy is freely available at flywire.ai. You can literally download the complete wiring diagram of a fruit fly brain. Now, you probably won't run your own simulation, but there are simplified tools on GitHub that let you experiment with basic neuron models. If you've got a teenager who's into coding, this could be an incredible learning project, way more interesting than building another calculator app. Third, start paying attention to companies working in this space. Eon is obviously one to watch, but this is going to spawn an entire industry. We're about to see a wave of investment in what's called neuromorphic computing. Companies that figure out how to commercialize brain-inspired AI are going to be tomorrow's giants. This isn't investment advice, but it's definitely worth understanding the landscape. As I always say, I am not a financial advisor. Always talk to a professional for your specific situation. Fourth, think about your career. We're entering an era where understanding both biology and technology gives you a massive advantage. You don't need to become a neuroscientist, but having basic literacy in how brains work, how neurons connect, and how that translates to AI systems, that's going to be incredibly valuable. There are free courses on Coursera, like computational neuroscience from UPenn, that can give you the fundamentals, an hour a week for a few months. And you'll understand this stuff better than 99% of people. Finally, prepare for what's coming next. Eon isn't stopping with fruit flies. They're already talking about mouse brains, which have 70 million neurons. That's a 500 times jump in complexity. If they can crack that, well, we're talking about digital brains that are genuinely intelligent in ways that feel much more familiar. The timeline on this stuff is accelerating faster than anyone expected. What seemed like decades away is happening in months. The people who understand it, who prepare for it, who adapt to it, they're going to thrive. The people who ignore it, well, they might find themselves left behind. Look, I've been in the AI space long enough to see a lot of overhyped breakthroughs that turned out to be nothing burgers. But this feels different. This isn't about building bigger neural networks or feeding more data into algorithms. This is about copying the actual blueprints that evolution spent millions of years perfecting. We're literally reverse engineering intelligence itself, starting with the simplest examples and working our way up to more complex brains. It's like having the ultimate cheat sheet for building artificial minds. The implications are staggering. If we can emulate any brain, we can preserve it, study it, enhance it. The line between biological and artificial intelligence starts to disappear, which raises questions about consciousness and identity and what it means to be human that we're nowhere near ready to answer. But here's what I keep coming back to. This technology is going to reshape everything, how we work, how we live, how we think about life and death. The question isn't whether this is coming, it's whether you're going to be ready for it. The fruit fly might be small, but it just opened the door to a future that's bigger than any of us can imagine. And that future, it's not coming someday, it's already here. That's today's AI in 10. If you want to go deeper and learn AI with a community of people just like you, join us at aihammock.com. I'll see you tomorrow, my friends.